Okay, let's talk about bone health. For years, we've been told one thing, right? Just take more calcium. But what if that entire idea is, well, fundamentally wrong? Today, we're diving into some sources that challenge the very diagnosis of things like osteopenia and osteoporosis, and they reveal a story that's way more complex than just popping a simple pill.
For decades, that message has been absolutely hammered home. Weak bones mean you need more calcium. End of story. But what if that's the wrong answer? Because we've been asking the wrong question all along. The sources we're looking at today suggest the entire problem might have been misdiagnosed from the very start.
Dr. Gundry kicks things off with this pretty powerful analogy. He's basically saying, look, being osteopenic isn't some pre-disease state. It's not like being a little bit pregnant. You either are or you aren't. It's all part of the exact same process as osteoporosis, and that's a huge deal because it suggests our whole system for categorizing bone weakness might be flawed, sending people down a treatment path for something we don't really understand.
So if the diagnosis itself is on shaky ground, literally, then how did we even get here? Well, the sources point their finger directly at the tools and the standards we use, revealing some pretty serious cracks in the very foundation of how we measure bone health. All right, here's the absolute core of the problem with the DEXA scan, our main diagnostic tool. Dr. Gundry explains that it compares everyone, it doesn't matter if you're 50, 70, a man, a woman, to the bone density of a 30-year-old woman at her absolute peak. I mean, think about that. By that standard, of course, millions of people are going to be told they have low bone density. He calls it setting up a paper tiger just so you can sell the solution to knock it down. And this brings us to a critical distinction. Density is not the same as strength, not even close. You can have bones that are jam-packed with minerals, right? They look super dense on a scan. But in reality, they can be incredibly brittle and weak, kind of like a piece of chalk. What's wild is that the very drugs designed to pump up that density number can actually interfere with the natural way your bones remodel themselves, leaving you with bone that looks good on paper but can't handle real-world stress. So you can kind of see how this whole thing snowballed, right? According to Dr. Gundry, this sequence created the perfect storm for a brand new industry. First, you invent a machine that finds a problem, in this case low density. Then you develop drugs that fix that specific metric on the machine's report. And boom, just like that, a massive market is born, all centered on a number that might not even represent true bone health. Okay, this leads us to the next really fascinating piece of this puzzle. It's a concept Dr. Berg calls the calcium paradox. And this is where that simple advice to just take more calcium really starts to fall apart.
It's such a bizarre contradiction when you think about it, isn't it? The body is literally starving for calcium in the bones, yet at the same time, it's piling up in places where it's actually dangerous, hardening your arteries and stiffening your joints. This proves the problem isn't a lack of calcium, it's a massive distribution failure.
So where is that failure happening? Well, when you take calcium supplements without the proper team of cofactors, it doesn't just automatically go to your skeleton. A huge portion of it can get misdirected into your soft tissues, exactly where you do not want it.
And here's maybe the most shocking irony of all. Both sources highlight that some of the most prescribed medications for osteoporosis have black box warnings for an increased risk of unusual fractures. Dr. Gundry talks about patients fracturing a hip just by standing, or their jaw while chewing. I mean, that is a massive red flag that our entire approach might be fundamentally flawed.
So, if calcium isn't the solo hero of this story, what is the solution? We need to look at the real bone builders. And it's not about one single nutrient, it's about an entire team working in sync to build bones that are truly strong and resilient.
First things first, we have to rethink what bone actually is. It is not just a rock. Dr. Berg points out that a full 35% of your bone is a flexible protein matrix, and that's mostly collagen. This is what gives bone its toughness, its ability to flex under pressure instead of just snapping. Without this protein framework, all the calcium in the world has nothing to bind to.
Think of these two as the logistics managers for calcium. Dr. Berg explains that D3 is like the doorman that gets calcium into the bloodstream, increasing absorption by a factor of 20. But vitamin K2 is the non-negotiable director, the elevator operator that tells that calcium exactly where to go, putting it in your bones and, just as importantly, keeping it out of your arteries.
And the rest of the essential crew is just as important. You need that solid protein foundation, you need vitamin A for the bone-building cells, magnesium to activate vitamin D, and crucial trace minerals like zinc and copper to help the whole process along. It's a true symphony of nutrients.
But what if the problem starts even earlier? Dr. Gundry proposes that for many, the true root cause is chronic inflammation, often stemming from a leaky gut caused by diet. He tells this amazing story of his wife, a marathon runner, who developed osteoporosis from her high-carb diet. When she fixed her diet and healed her gut, her osteoporosis vanished.
So, what does this all mean for you? Let's distill all this new perspective into a practical blueprint. The sources give us a really clear guide for shifting our focus from a single mineral to a holistic, nutrient-dense strategy for building genuinely strong bones.
So here it is, your action plan, the nutrient blueprint. And the key theme you'll notice is nutrient-dense whole foods. This means focusing on those fat-soluble vitamins from things like egg yolks and fatty fish, vitamin K2 from fermented foods like natto, and high-quality protein and minerals from sources like shellfish.
And finally, remember that it is never just about food. Bone health is a whole body issue. You have to manage stress to control that bone-destroying cortisol. You need great digestion to absorb all these nutrients. You need weight-bearing exercise to signal your bones to stay strong. And you need healthy hormones to provide a crucial protective effect. It all works together. So let's leave you with this final thought. What if we stopped seeing bone loss as an isolated disease of aging? What if instead we saw it as a powerful messenger, an indicator of our overall metabolic health, our gut health, and our nutritional status? The strength of your skeleton may just be a direct reflection of the strength of your entire system, and that's a perspective that truly changes everything.